always quite a delay by the time we get to this point, but it's really nice to be here for this. The GFOA established the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is the CAFR program, is the acronym it goes by, in 1945 to encourage and assist state and local governments in going beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles and instead prepare comprehensive annual financial reports that evidence the spirit of transparency and full disclosure. One of the most interesting pieces of this document is the statistical section, which is towards the end of the document, and it is a specific requirement of this more comprehensive document. This is the document in hard form. You don't have it in hard form, but it is posted on the accounting website for you to review at your leisure. The Certificate of Achievement is recognition of having succeeded in achieving that goal of generating a more professional and comprehensive document. ASBO, or the Association of School Business Officials International, has also recognized this same document by granting a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for the same year and document. For more than 45 years, ASBO's Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting has honored school districts for high-quality, comprehensive annual financial reports. Receiving these certificates of excellence show the community that the district is credible and transparent and is viewed by credit rating agencies as a very positive factor in decision making. So it represents the district well and in a very positive light. These are both national agencies that have a lot of clout in the financial world. Several members of the accounting staff were able to join us this evening. As I call your name, would you please come up to the podium? Ben Lubkeman, Mark Turnbull, Amanda Boyle, Carol Kraft, Sonia Montoya, Ron Sandoval, and Hans Zimmer. These esteemed ladies and gentlemen all had a lot of input into this major document that will represent the district for years to come. There's one every year. This is just 1 year's worth. But I just want to say thank you for the ways that you all support the district. And it really shows the value that of the work that you all do. Let's show our appreciation for these exemplary staff members. Thank you. Sorry. Yay.
Shake your hand.
See, just because we see you all the time doesn't mean you get away without shaking your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
Very well.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Please continue, Ms. Coleman. Please continue.
All right, I have another one. This is really fun. So tonight, I also have the honor of recognizing our budget department for receiving the Association of School Business Officials Meritus Budget Award for fiscal year 2008. School districts that apply for the Meritorious Budget Award understand the importance of presenting an accessible and accurate budget to build trust and clear communication with stakeholders. Board members received this bound document in the fall of 2017. Some of you may recognize it. It's also a very large document. But the document is also posted on our budget and strategic planning webpage for your review. Through the application process, our staff demonstrated skills in effective budget presentation, compliance with clear budget guidelines, including an 11-page submission checklist, commitment to the community through providing reader-friendly documents, and adherence to nationally recognized presentation standards. Districts that received the award received comprehensive comments about the budget document from professional reviewers, as well as a plaque and a letter of accomplishment. Several members of the budget staff were able to join us this evening. As I call your name, will you please come up to the podium? Teresa Scott, Guy Harris, Roy Barola, Julianne Hicks, Teresa Groulet, Linda McLaughlin, Raphael Torres, Charlene Lippert, Chad Chandler, and Sandra Jenkins. So I do have a few of them here. Receipt of this award again this year validates the hard and good work that your department continues to do. Thank you for the ways you support the district. Let's show our appreciation for these exemplary staff members.
Nicely done, Teresa. Congratulations.
So I just wanted to say one more thing about these awards. If you go to the third floor where Finance Department is, you'll see just as you get off the elevator, there's actually a cabinet there that displays the awards over the years that these departments have earned. They have really done great work, and we really like to recognize that. So thank you for the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our recognitions. Congratulations to the Finance Department. It's awesome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now we're going to begin public forum. So whether you are here with a request for the Board of Education to consider, provide information, or just see how the Board of Education operates, we want you to know that you are welcome. The Board of Education has established rules for expected civil behavior during the meeting and public forum. Upon signing in to speak tonight, you received a signature form and copy of the procedural directive, which outlined those rules for expected behavior. The presiding officer will enforce these rules as appropriate throughout the meeting. Tonight, there are less than 15 speakers, so therefore, to accommodate everyone, each speaker has 2 minutes for comments within the 30-minute public forum. The time remaining to speak will appear on the screen in front of you. You may not yield your unused time to another speaker. You are always welcome to submit additional comments to the board in writing if you're unable to convey your message or you're not able to speak within the 30-minute public forum. The Board of Education encourages you to stay for the entirety of the meeting, so you may listen to board member comments before we adjourn. And only at this time may your concerns be addressed at the discretion of each board member. So our first speaker is Franklin Ghana.
My name is Franklin Gauna. Race in the district. APS has always been racist. This is nothing new. And it got me to thinking. I have decided to stick with love because hate is too great of a burden to bear. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Wow. We've learned nothing. Politics, well, we're right back where we were 50 years ago. I'm really glad for the reminder of the behavior, because when you talk about race and white people and black people, and also the perceptions that white people have of black people without them even knowing it, you need civil behavior. You need it. It's the only thing that controls us to be able to speak to each other in a civil manner. Policies and procedures for districts as big as APS need to be changed, and they need to be looked at. Volcano Vista, does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember that before Volcano Vista, APS leadership, 4 days before that happened, something about a race training? And when media decided to come and talk to the president of the Board of Education at that time, he said no. Civil disobedience is important.
Our next speaker is Brian Hoover.
Good evening, Brian Hoover. I'm from Tijeras. I'm here to ask some questions about school security. I realize that you may prefer these questions to be asked offline, but since the Parkland massacre in February, I have written multiple emails, made multiple phone calls, left voicemails for the APS police chief, deputy, and superintendent, and had no response. No response whatsoever. I don't understand why those contact information is on the internet if there's not going to be a response. So here I am with two questions. First is, what has APS done since Parkland to improve school security, or at the very least, evaluate school security? Second question, I did discover some existing common sense security policies. For instance, policy KI regarding visitors to schools, which is an obvious concern. This policy states, quote, visitors shall verify their identity. But these are not uniformly implemented. When I asked our principal about checking IDs, she said she's not comfortable asking for IDs of visitors. So my question, too, is, are these policies mandatory? Or do principals have discretion on which policies to implement? And if they are mandatory, what is APS doing to ensure compliance? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Yolanda Armijo.
Hello, thanks for your time. I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm a mother of 3 children in the APS district, and I have not been cleared of a background check, which, according to Judge Alanis, in short of being able to expunge my record, I should be cleared of all. I was never charged of a crime. I was never prosecuted. So I want to ask the board if they can dig a little deeper into my case. I'm at the school on a daily basis, and I have a son with special needs who I had to restrain in 2007. So that's where the child abuse charges were allegedly, I was accused allegedly, I guess, of child abuse charges. So, and cleared. So I guess I just want to know the next steps that I need to take. I've been working with the chief of police and through APS, and I forget her name, the other lady I work with. For 2 years, I've been pretty much locked out of my child's lives at school, so I feel like I need someone to hear the case and dig a little deeper, and then I think I should be able to be cleared. Do I get responses from anybody at this,
Not until the end.
Later.
at the end? Okay. Okay, and I have a parent liaison that's here to speak on my behalf also. Thank you.
So our last speaker is Nora Lujan.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Nora Lujan. I'm a parent liaison in Dolores Gonzalez. I deal with the parents, the community, the teachers, and the children in the school. And I'm here to support, morally support Yolanda. She's one of our most avid parents, always helping. She introduced the program of Girl Scouts after school because, of course, she's not cleared to do anything during the school hours. And she's always helping. She's always cooking. She's always helping me in the classroom. And anybody that knows about, parents, it's very hard to actually bring in parents into the school. And Yolanda has been like one of the most wonderful parents. So I'm here, giving moral support. Of course, we're on vacation, but even right now, we're going to the school and watering the plants because we don't want the garden to dry up. And Yolanda sat there with her little girls, wheeling the kids in their buggy, helping me, and always seeing what she can do for us. So again, I'm repeating myself. I want to, for you guys to look at this because for the past 2 years, Yolanda has tried to clear her record, and it's been very difficult for her. And I really do believe that we need parents like that, like her. And I really feel that, she had to be cleared. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for your input. That concludes our public forum.
Thank you. We'll go on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Piercy, board, members of the board, community members, and staff. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to announce a new member of the APS family who was born not too long ago and will be graduating in 2036. I will be there to shake her hand. This would be Ariana Bowman. She's a beautiful daughter of Dr. Richard Bowman, and I just want to welcome her to the family. Albuquerque Public Schools saw improved scores on the PARCC. This is a state-required test with an average gain of 3.5 percentage points in English language arts and 1.6 percentage points in math. The greatest gains were seen in 4th grade, which improved 5 percentage points, and scores in 6th, 7th, and 10th grade all improved by 4 percentage points or more. Math scores improved in grades 3 through 7 and in Algebra 1, with the greatest gains of 3 percentage points or more in 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade. Scores in the 8th grade math, geometry, and Algebra 2 were down slightly, so we're going to have to look at that and see why that occurred in that manner. But the greatest 3-year gains were made in 7th grade English language arts and 4th grade math, which both increased by 6 percentage points. 8th grade English language arts saw a 3-year increase of 5.7 percentage points, so it's been a gradual. We haven't fallen back, and I think that speaks volumes about the consistency and the continuity of instruction that our children are getting. And more than half of all 11th grade students now meet or exceed expectations in English language arts. The 3 APS schools identified by the state as in needs of more rigorous intervention, or MRI schools, all saw improved test scores. And some of the possible reasons for the all of these increased scores include budgetary adjustments, and here we are. I'm so glad that we were able to praise the work that was being done as far as really fine-tuning the budgetary adjustments that have put more resources back into the school, into the classrooms. the creation of learning zones designed to meet the unique needs of the school community through support, resources, and professional learning, and a lot of hard work. And the use of data, including test scores to drive instruction, intervene when students fall behind, and tailor programs to fit individual needs of our students. And again, this dovetails nicely with our academic master plan, and I think we're seeing some nice results. I'm pleased to see the improvements and look forward to what will come next year. The APS Education Foundation is hosting an online silent auction. It is sponsored by Concerta and includes items and services donated by local businesses to help raise funds for innovative programs in APS schools. Auction items range in value from $40 to $1,600 and include sporting events, gift certificates, art, jewelry, and vacations. The online silent auction closes tomorrow evening at 6:30. So if you're interested, please get online and put in your silent bids. I invite you to shop for a great cause and enjoy the products and services of our local businesses who do everything that they can to support our work. APS will host a summer graduation ceremony at 7 p.m. on Monday, July the 23rd at the Kiva Auditorium. Approximately 350 seniors completed their coursework and earned their high school diploma, and some graduated mid-year, but they're coming back because they want to walk the line, and I'm thrilled that they are. A little more than 200 students are expected to participate in the commencement. About 4,200 students, grades 8 through 12, have enrolled in summer school classes, and that speaks volumes about this opportunity that they're taking advantage of and that we're offering. The graduation ceremony is really very colorful. It's got students from APS comprehensive high schools, magnet schools, and charter schools wearing caps and gowns in their school colors, and it's just a true celebration, and I'm excited to be part of the ceremony to celebrate with these students and their families. The Albuquerque Public Schools Administrators Conference on Education, or ACE, will be held July the 25th through the 28th at the Albuquerque Marriott Pyramid North. The theme this year, oh boy, the theme this year is Adventures of Honoring the Past, Treasuring the Present, and Shaping the Future. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of poodle skirts present at ACE this year. The conference is an opportunity to engage APS leaders in professional development, motivational speeches, and opportunities for networking. And one thing that I need to mention, we've been having ACE over 50 years now. I think it's 56 or something like that. No other district does this. Very few states that I know of. In fact, I don't know of any other state that does this, but it is invaluable, and we look forward to it every single year. And even in times of budget cuts and crisis, that was something that we felt needed to continue because we value the opportunity to come together as administrators and share ideas, and we just love ACE. I look forward to participating in the conference, and no, I'm not going to be in the talent show. I'm saying that right now. I'm also looking forward to starting the school year. And like I said today, this morning, in a taped message that we put together at KNW, my favorite radio station, va a ser un año escolar de gran éxito. This is going to be a really successful academic year. We're looking forward to it. That concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Reedy. We'll go on to special issues. The first issue is the update on the La Resolana Leadership Academy. It's a discussion item. Presenters Debbie Elder, Executive Director of Office of Innovation and School Choice, and Dr. Joseph Escobedo, the Senior Director of Office of Innovation and School Choice. And we'll have a presentation by you all, and then Robert Lemming, who is the governance chair for La Resolana, will have 3 minutes for a public forum statement after that. Okay, and then we'll have a discussion by the board.
Thank you, President Piercy, members of the board. We wanted to just come back and give an update on the happenings since the June 25th meeting. Since then, La Rosalana Leadership Academy has filed an appeal with the New Mexico Secretary of Education. And we wanted tonight to come and just talk about options and get your direction for potential next steps and answer any questions that you may have. In that vein, I always like to contextualize any decisions that we make in the bigger picture and the bigger strategy and what we're trying to accomplish. And so as we think back to our portfolio strategy, which is really looking at how do we provide a portfolio, if you will, or a variety of different options that meet students' different learning needs, meet needs of families, and meet needs for workforce preparation in our district and in our city. Our decisions that we make in the Office of Innovation and School Choice are always kind of guided by that North Star of looking at what options are needed to enhance the portfolio of schools that we have. Thinking of a portfolio in terms of, like an artist's portfolio, a portfolio of your best work that shows all the different kinds of things that you can do. So I wanted to just call us back to that bigger purpose. Since the June 25th meeting, as I said, La Rosalana has filed an appeal. The legal counsel of APS and La Rosalana have met and conferred with each other to explore the different statutory options, of which there are several, which Dr. Escobedo will go into a little bit more detail about.
Mr. President, members of the board, in your packets, we did include the actual appeal that the school has filed. In addition, we provided you the briefing document, which you've seen before, regarding contracts and closures. On the second page of that briefing document on contracts and closures, you'll notice State Statute 228B9, which really guides how a charter school contract shall be executed. And so this is really regarding option one, because the appeal to the secretary was made on the basis that the contract was not finalized and that there was a disagreement about the contract. So one option is that the appeal would go forward and continue through that process with the Secretary of Education, where he can, if you notice in that yellow highlighted portion, make the contract final, and we would move forward with authorizing them, and they would continue to operate. Another option would be to bring forward their contract and move forward with some conditions that you might consider. So, for example, some of the things that we've discussed is really understanding who they have in charge of special ed, a possible interim executive director, a path forward to a new executive director, holding a public meeting to clearly articulate to parents the concerns that we've had and their path forward, their corrective action plan. Another option would be to bring forward, and this is also in your briefing documents, it's the 4th or 5th page, where really another highlighted area under section L, and I apologize that these aren't numbered, really following the procedures for actual formal revocation. And so that is another option for you to consider, is actually formalizing the revocation of the school, which would move forward with, if the board so choose to vote to actually close the school. And I included the APS procedural directive on that process. So the school has taken some steps forward, and Mr. Lemming, I don't know if it's appropriate at this time for him to address the board, but we do stand for questions, but we just wanted to provide you kind of the context of where we're at, and want to get guidance as to how to move forward with this issue.
Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, Robert, we'll have you give your public forum here, and you'll have 3 minutes, just like normal. And I'm sorry, 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I get mixed up with meetings. Yeah, 2 minutes. Sorry, Guy.
Mr. President, members of the board, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this evening. We indeed met with your council as well as ours, in addition to Debbie Elder and Joseph Escobedo, about the steps that we needed to take moving forward. And I think that we, at the end of that meeting, we're ending up on the same page. And I appreciate the input from the APS staff on this, and so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm not here tonight to offer any excuses for the concerns that you all identified. I'm here to offer a constructive path forward in accordance with the items that were discussed in the meeting that we had with Debbie Elder, Joseph Escobedo, and Art Melendres, as well as our council. The first thing is that we heard your concerns and did not take them lightly. We will have an interim head administrator in place on Monday. I had the opportunity to meet with an individual this week, and we are negotiating the particulars of it. But moving forward, the individual heading up the transition is no longer going to be Justina Montoya, who will be retiring and out of the school completely on September 4th. The interim administrator between Monday the 23rd, I believe, through that period of time, or give or take, when we find a permanent replacement. On that note, we have posted the job posting through APS's service as well as the Coalition of Charter Schools to replace our head administrator with a permanent person. And I anticipate applications coming in for that shortly. We've scheduled not one but 2 community meetings in order to better reach our parent community. Some of them aren't able to get there in the evenings, and some aren't able to get there in the mornings. And so we covered our bases by having 2, one in the morning on a weekend, one in the evening on a weeknight, to accommodate everybody so that we can get the most input that we can. In addition to that, we have had candidates applying who we are in the process of interviewing for the second special education teacher position. We have indeed hired a special education teacher who is on board, who has met with the APS special education liaison to discuss the corrective action plan and enacting that moving forward. So I think by taking all of those steps, which were pretty clearly outlined in our meeting with Art Melendres and Joseph Escobedo and Debbie Elder, I think that took into account your concerns that you stated, and I just wanted to emphasize the point that I am not here to make excuses about the concerns you identified, but that we are being very proactive in addressing those concerns. And I believe that in our collaboration with Joseph Escobedo and Debbie Elder's team, I think we are on the right path.
Okay, thank you. So, Joseph, we have board comments from anybody? Any thoughts from anybody? Yes, Board Member Peterson?
I guess one of the questions is, what's the time frame for the appeal process?
So the appeal process, I might need Mr. Melendres' support on this one, but I believe the general time frame is that the general counsel from the Public Education Department would ask for briefs from both parties, and then schedule a hearing between 30 and 45 days.
Okay, and so what, I guess I need, just put succinctly, what was the same page that you all ended up on? What, after you met with legal counsels, what, I am confused about what the actual recommendation is coming from you all.
President Piercy and Board Member Peterson, members of the board, we are not bringing forth a new recommendation. Okay. We are here to clarify what's happening in the process. When an appeal is filed, and I'm going to look to Mr. Melendres to verify, the school continues to exist, and it's sort of like stay put. Things don't change as long as the appeal is in process. And so as such, the meeting with the governing council chair and La Rosalana's council came to some discussion around what they're going to do in the meantime as the appeal is in its process. Their feeling is that they don't want to just sit and do nothing. They want to take the proactive steps that President Lemming described, so that if the appeal is, if the contract is sent back to you all, that they would have a constructive path forward, which of course we support those action steps. We aren't, again, recommending a path forward. We're just giving an update, and we'd like to hear from you, your thoughts based on what you're hearing this evening. Does that answer your question?
So this is just a discussion item. There's no action tied to it, so it's, okay.
Correct. Other comments from the board? Any? Yes, Board Member Muller-Aragon?
So then school will, by the time the whole appeal process goes through, school will already have started, correct?
Mr. President, Ms. Mueller-Aragon, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if the secretary decides that the school will be closed, then when will that happen? Will it happen after the kids have already started school, which is very concerning?
Mr. President and Ms. Mueller-Aragon, yes, that generally within 30 days. So following the revocation process, if you were to vote in another meeting to actually revoke the charter, then the school would cease to exist in 30 days. And that's following that process. But they would have an opportunity to file an appeal on the revocation. So I'm assuming that process would be the same for the secretary, if the secretary determined that the contract was not valid.
Okay, so then they have another opportunity after that one when it comes to revocation, so they can appeal that as well.
Yes, if the board were to choose to revoke, then the revocation would be on the principles of the matter. What the confusion is the lack of the approval of the contract. If we follow current state statute, the appeal is just on the disagreement about contract language, not about the concerns that the board has expressed and that the district has expressed about special ed compliance. So they're kind of two different issues.
So then we'd have another vote on revocation, though we approved the charter. We renewed the charter in December. I mean, I know I wasn't here for that, but that's when that happened. So then we would have like a second vote about that then.
You would have you would have a hearing about
a
revocation and make a determination on that. You know, as I described to the National Association of Charter School Authorizers today when we were getting some guidance from them, is this is the convergence of you know, we haven't had this situation before where we have a contract that's ready to be approved, but a major concern or problem that we found, and in this case, special ed compliance.
Okay, so then they have the correction action plan that was written in conjunction with APS. So then, I don't know if you can answer this or Mr. Lemming, they are continuing with that corrective action plan.
So Mr. President, Mueller-Aragon, the corrective action plan has been submitted by the school. They have developed that. Our Ms. Espinosa, who is the special education liaison for charter schools, did meet with them to review their corrective action plan, did provide some input, and has recommended that the corrective action plan be accepted. So they are moving forward with taking care of some of those things. We will be monitoring that throughout this next year. And in fact, we've already set some deadlines. We will be looking at things in September, October, and November to be able to come back to you no matter what your decision is, to let you know in December the status of their corrective action plan.
So then, do they have to, for the corrective action plan, I read over this, then do they have to have, I know they said reasonable opportunity to remedy the problem. So what is reasonable opportunity, that they have to have so much time that it has to be done in a timely manner, or a reasonable amount of time, and it's not defined. So were they even given a reasonable amount of time to carry this out?
Mr. President, Ms. Mueller-Aragon, they developed the corrective action plan and it was accepted in early June. And so that's why we are recommending to go in September, October, November, monitor different pieces of that action plan and to come back to you in December with a progress update to see how they have been able to implement that. They have hired a special education director, Mr. Moulton. He has had a preliminary meeting with our special education liaison, and we are hopeful, but we don't know how the progress will be until it is put into place.
So is it then, Dr. Escobedo, mandated that we have to give them time to carry out their corrective action plan? I mean, is that they shall be given that time? Or is it, well, maybe?
Mr. President, Ms. Mueller-Aragon, I'm not sure what you're referring to, what documents that.
Oh, I was just reading your briefing, just your briefing. So I think it was in F, probably in F, and then in like 4L, 1, 2, 3, you talked about allowing the charters a reasonable amount of time, giving timely notification, giving opportunity for the governing body to remedy the problem, requiring them to execute a corrective action plan. So there's lots of giving them time. I just want to know if that is something that is they may or they shall have that time, because that's important. Those words are different. So I just want to know if it's a may or if it's a shall.
Mr. President, Ms. Mueller-Aragon, it is a shall.
Okay. So they weren't given that opportunity. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Board Member Montoya Cordova.
So my questions are, is like in the corrective action plan, I would assume that they probably gave themselves some, hopefully they did, it's like some specific timelines and deadlines to meet?
Mr. President and Ms. Montoya Cordova, they have given them the timelines, and then we have our timelines for monitoring that as well. Yes.
Okay. So that would be a basis then, if they're proposing their own timeline, that's what we would be monitoring against, what they're proposing and when they would get it done, because they would have to meet their own corrective action plan and proposal if that's what's being recommended and said that we should go forward with that.
Dr. Piercy, Ms. Montoya Cordova, correct.
Okay. So my second question is around the community meetings with the parents. That Mr. Lemming proposed that there's 2 community meetings that are planned for parents. What's the content of the meetings? What's the plan? Is the plan to let parents know of potential choice of options of moving forward? I'm just curious about what's that. Was that mentioned at all in the timeline in terms of giving parents due diligence, also in terms of knowing that the school is somewhat in a precarious situation? How is that being communicated with parents?
Dr. Piercy, Ms. Montoya Cordova, I'll have to ask Mr. Lemming to respond to that question in particular. I can tell you that the school preliminarily did send out a letter to the parents. We've had a discussion about that, and so he'll be able to tell you the proposed contents of that meeting.
Yes, so we've been fully transparent with our school community in letting them know what the situation is with regard to the contract and the board's action on that. And as far as the content of those meetings is to address any questions or concerns that they may have about the situation that they are in. And we are not interested in denying anybody information, and so if they did want to move to another school, that is certainly their right to do so, and There's no reason why they wouldn't be able to do that or why we would tell them that they couldn't. We are doing this in the interest of transparency as a school community, because that's part of the culture of our school in the first place. And we just want to make sure that as we move forward, we are hearing input from our community. And if they have ideas on the head administrator search, or if they have some idea about any part of this process as we're moving forward, we're very interested to hear what they have to say.
God, I just lost my train of thought because I did have a second. Oh, my second question, or my final question is really, has the enrollment dropped? Or do we know what the starting enrollment is going to be for the new year?
To my knowledge, enrollment hasn't dropped. The only instance of a student the only instance that I know of is a student, an incoming sixth grader who is planning to attend our school, who, in light of the circumstances and information that the parent had learned from the press, had decided to go to a different charter school that was reported in the Albuquerque Journal, and that's the only instance I know of a student going elsewhere.
So what will be your starting enrollment?
I think it is 65, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know the number at this time.
Do we have an idea of what's that number of students with disabilities that will be starting the new year?
I also don't know what that number is.
No further questions.
Any other questions for you?
I'm just curious if Mr.
Let me go to Lorenzo. He's been over here waving his hand.
Okay.
He's my buddy over here, but I've been ignoring him, so
Thank you.
I can't ignore him anymore. Thank you,
It's
Lorenzo.
okay. Most people can find it pretty easy to ignore me. Well, Joseph, I'm a little confused. My understanding, based on the last vote that the board took, was that you were going to proceed to close the school based on the fact that the contract was not approved. And I raised a question about the appeal to the secretary, and I was told that was correct. They had that right. So I'm a little confused. I'm confused about the numbers, let me say. The numbers at the time, we were talking about 62 rather than 82 students. And, from my point of view, we've got mixed messages from you, and I've never really been clear on what your recommendation was. Prior to this meeting, my understanding from you, when I asked you, do we believe that this school can move forward based on the plan that had been presented? And you said yes. And then we got into the discussion about various issues of compliance. Now we're in a position where I'm trying to figure out, well, what did we vote on? We certainly were lambasted in the press and by the bloggers, calling us hypocritical, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, that's about as bad as it can get. Not to say that it couldn't get worse. I don't want to predict that.
Well.
But, we're just being sort of like a ping pong ball, paddled one way and then paddled the other. And I want to find out what it is that we have authority to do and what is it that we don't have authority to do. It sounds to me like what was said in the interim, based on what you just said now, was that once an appeal has been filed, that sort of changes the rules. We have to look at their contract for compliance, therefore you had the meeting with the board's attorney as well as with the attorney from the school as well as the school. And now the person who's been monitoring this from your department is saying you're satisfied with their plan. So I'm just a little confused. And I don't know that I'll get much satisfaction for that confusion. But I do need to say, are we committing to working together, Mr. Lemming? That's my question to you. Mr. Escobedo, do you think we can work this out? That's my question to you. Where do we go from here? And why? Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. Garcia, first of all, my apologies, so let me be very clear. At the previous board meeting, we did recommend approval of their contract based on the points that they had met all of the indicators that we had asked them to do, which included them developing their own special education corrective action plan. That triggered us to be able to bring back to you their contract. At that meeting, we recommended approval of their contract based on the point that they had developed a successful corrective action plan, which is required when we find a concern. And so in the meantime, the board voted to not approve the contract. I will take responsibility for not having the experience and the knowledge of this particular situation, that when a contract is not approved by an authorizer, that there is a gray area that we believe in 22.8b9, not a gray area, it's pretty clear in 22.8b9, if a contract is, there's a disagreement, that either party can appeal to the secretary. And so that is the basis of their appeal. If I had had more experience and in this situation, I would have advised you at that time that you voted to not approve the contract, to request that the board give me direct information as to take the next steps. Does that mean that the board wants me to take the next steps towards revocation? And so we have found kind of a disconnect between the charter school statutes that are in place. And so to answer your question, do I believe that we can move forward? In our discussions with the school, they were productive, and the school is taking steps forward to move the school forward with, including, as what Mr. Lemming said, an interim director, looking for another executive director. They do have a special ed director, those sorts of things.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Go ahead, Mr. Lemming.
Yeah, I just wanted to address your question about how we viewed working together. I have always viewed this from the outset as a partnership with you guys as the authorizer and us operating under your authorization. And it is my intention to work with you guys as stakeholders in the mission of our school and to serve the students who go to our school. And I have no doubt in my mind that the steps that we're taking are bold steps and that are going to result in constructive outcomes that I don't think were fully understood for a number of reasons. But I think right here is our opportunity to flesh that out and really put it on the table that we are, in fact, working hand in hand for the good of our students, and that's our intention. And we are doing everything that has been expressed to us, not only from the board, but through the staff members at APS as well. We've been working very closely, and I think I'm very proud of having that relationship and being able to make these constructive changes.
I don't necessarily think I remember reading that in your letter to the editor.
I did make a remark to the reporter specifically thanking the board members who voted to approve the contract. That wasn't reported in the Albuquerque Journal, but I have an email to prove it if you want to see it.
Well, I don't really have any confidence in our local journal. Here's the deal. I want to have a real clear understanding on where we're going and why we're going there. I don't think that I got that the last time. It was confusing. It was hard on the board. People voted their conscience based on their observations and reports that we received from the charter school department. I want us to move forward for all children, whether they be in charter schools, whether they be in charter schools we approve or that the state approves. I'm not interested in playing political games back and forth. But I want us to move forward, but we have to be clear on what we're doing. And I don't feel that I got clarity. So your explanation this evening, Mr. Escobedo, I feel satisfied with that explanation, and I'm hopeful that I'm understanding you this time. I thought I heard you say we were going to proceed with closing the school. So at this point, my opinion is it sounds like you've had a meeting of the minds, and we're trying to work through the process to move forward. So good, let's do it.
Other comments? Board Member Armijo had her hand up.
Again, mine was based on clarity too. I just wanted to be clear that really the only thing that we should be discussing is that an appeal has been filed, the school stays open during this process, and that there is a constructive path forward for those 65 children and those parents and those families, so that Mr. Lemming put forward. So, I mean, should we be talking about anything else other than appeal has been filed and the school stays open, and are they on the right path? I mean, are we supposed to look forward? I mean, beyond that, or are we just dealing with what's in front of us?
I think, again, our staff has just given us an update on where the status is. I think the discussion is that status okay? Where are we going with that? Are there other suggestions or thoughts about that? But right now, your statement is actually correct. In other words, they are an appeal. And depending on what the appeal does, what they're doing now, and whether it comes back to us again, that's kind of the general process.
Okay. And if Mr. Lemming knew that when he volunteered to be president of the governing council, that it would be a full-time position, so. All right.
I do have a
Yeah,
comment
Board Member Patterson.
before I get skipped. You know, Mr. Lemming mentioned that he wasn't clear about how many students he has. The school is still open. We don't know how many students you have, and you don't know how many are special ed students. That concerns me greatly, that the school still continues to be open, and we don't know concrete numbers. That's a real concern, and I believe that was a concern to begin with by some of the board members.
To address that concern, I am not the administrator of the school, and I don't review briefings of demographic information on a regular basis. We do go over these numbers in our monthly meetings, but those numbers have sort of taken a backseat to taking the actions that were suggested in response to the practical concerns of the board as far as what we can do to improve our school. And so, though I cannot give you that number, I just don't have that knowledge, but that doesn't mean that the knowledge doesn't exist. It certainly does, and that is something that, if you like, I guess we can take that conversation offline, and I can provide you with all of that information that you need.
That would be important, because what we're talking about here today is a school with students. It's the housing of the students. We're talking about students, and that's what we have here today. It's providing the education to these students, and that would be very important to have. That's information that would be vital here today.
And I will get that information to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Robert. Just a couple of questions, a couple of kind of timeline things so that we get this kind of straight. Let me ask, first of all, what's the criteria for your leader? You've put out a job thing. Tell me what your criteria is, Robert.
Yeah, so we are looking for, obviously, a licensed administrator in the state of New Mexico, an individual with a master's degree. And I think the key aspect of what we put in our job posting was that we prefer a candidate with special education experience in the classroom and a familiarity with the statutes and regulations that exist around IEPs and special education programs in general. We are putting a premium on that experience, and so candidates who come in with that type of experience, we are going to be looking at very closely, and in the hopes that they will be able to oversee, in addition to our new special education director with 42 years of experience, to make it a very strong program where our special education students are thriving. So that is a specific point that we put in our job posting, in addition to the things that are required legally of an individual to hold that position in the state of New Mexico. And I can get you a copy of that job description if you would like as well.
Okay, I think that's a difficult requirement, but I think it would be a requirement since you have, I think what you said is 40% of your students are special ed. let me kind of go over again the whole timeline here, Joseph, so that I understand what our whole thing was. Because some time ago, I think it was more than a year ago, you know, I forget, but more than a year ago, you came to us with the renewal for La Resolana. And your recommendation at that time was closure. And the recommendation was closure based on the fact they had a significant deficit in finances. Can you tell me at that time, did we know anything about the special ed issues?
Mr. President, members of the board, so 2 years ago, the school did apply to renew their charter coming from the Public Education Commission. And we requested at that time information from the Public Education Department on any corrective action plans that they had been under. The Public Education Department's Charter School Division did not notify us of any concerns. Mm-hmm. During our site visit process, the school did self-disclose that they had a $200,000 deficit. We recommended non-renewal to you. The board did vote to non-renew the school. The school did appeal to the Secretary of Education, who requested that we negotiate with the school to move forward prior to a hearing being held.
So we did do that for like 1 year, correct?
Mr. President, members of the board, yes, we gave them a 1-year contract.
So now
now they, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So then they had 1 year, which meant that they had to almost immediately turn in their next renewal application because they're due on October 1st.
Right.
Just a few months after our oversight started.
So this past October.
Correct.
This past October, you came to us and indicated that their finances were kind of corrected. And did we know at that time whether there were any special education issues? Because now it's been a year with us, right?
So, Mr. President, so they had only been under our authorized authority when we brought your recommendation in December, and then we conducted our site visit in the spring.
So we had not had any site visits before then?
No, we had not. We did not.
Even though they had finance problems, so we didn't have any site visits on the finance issue and the corrective action for that?
Mr. President, members of the committee, yes, they were on monthly financial reporting, and so that's not an official site visit, but our finance was monitoring their finances monthly and ensuring that they were in
There were
compliance.
issues then.
Okay. So at that time, when they brought their renewal in December, we voted again on the renewal, and there were some conditions about getting a contract correct and so forth. And I can't remember the vote at that time,
I wasn't here, I know that.
but it seemed close. It wasn't unanimous. It seemed close.
It says in here that it was unanimous, though.
Was it really?
In their notice of appeal, it does say that it was unanimous, so.
Yeah, I did.
I can't remember all that because it seemed to me like it came down to even my last vote.
Yeah, it
I
says.
abstained at that time in December.
And I can't remember that it was unanimous. I don't
Well, it does
remember
say.
that.
It's not unanimous.
Well, it says that, but I can't remember that myself. So, because the last time I voted on this, it looked close. It looked close. And that was only based on the finances that we had in that resolution. It had nothing to do with special ed.
I mean, we can find that. I mean, we can
No.
find that.
We ought to look that up, make sure we understand what it is, because I don't remember it being unanimous. But it might have been. Maybe I'm remembering a previous vote. I don't know.
Was that in December,
That was December of
December the 17th? I abstained at the time. I do remember my vote on that.
So anyway, so then between that time and the time of the contract, all of a sudden we have these issues with special ed, which obviously existed before. They didn't just come up. So these were issues before that happened. These are issues that have been going on for some period of time. which I also fault the PEC for not having any oversight, no authority, no resolution of these things. They should have seen this before. I mean, it's easy to count numbers. You can do that, but, to actually come in, look at your program, and see how you're doing with your kids, and see how it's happening. I mean, it takes a little effort, which the PEC has no capacity to do. Only we do. So you find that out. And as I said before in my comments, I wasn't at all happy with the comments that I got. There was no deal about, well, the kids really weren't getting the services, because if they were getting the services and the IEPs weren't right, then that's against the law. You got to have in your IEP what you're doing for services. So there's a problem. There's a problem there, and so I wasn't particularly impressed with the response to that from the education point of view. I mean, we want our kids to succeed, we want to do that, but I'm not sure how that's going to happen in this short period of time. And I guarantee you, trying to find an educator who's going to come in as a principal and have good special education background and the capability to really turn that charter around is very unlikely. I'm just unlikely. We have a hard enough time finding special education people, much less one that's an educator and an administrator and all those things, even though that's the right kind of criteria. But when I talked to you before, Robert, about what criteria was, you never mentioned that information. And the idea that the special education is a major population in your group was really never mentioned. And I think that's a critical thing, When you've got, I think your quote was 40% of special ed, that's a large percentage of your students. And since we gave that as a real concern, I would have thought you might have gone back and really found out exactly how many kids you really do have, what we have. So I think that's important. Again, I think the path forward here is the path forward has already been established. In other words, that is that there's an appeal going on. I credit you for working through having yourself in a position to do better. That's what you should do. But particularly if the appeal is confirmed or whatever, I'm very concerned by the fact that if we keep going on with this appeal and so forth, you're going to be 2 or 3 months, maybe more, into the school year. And if all of a sudden it needs to be closed, now the question is, well, I'm a little concerned about closing it immediately. I might say if it's going to be closed, it probably wouldn't be closed till the end of the school year or something, because I don't want to be pulling kids out and trying to figure out where they're going to go. That's really not acceptable. That's not acceptable. So we as adults are now putting our kids in a real problem. We're going back and forth, and we're making statements, and we're talking to the press, and we're putting out stuff to try to support whatever side we got. And now we're putting our kids in danger. I don't like that much. I don't like that much. So I think, again, as if we go through this process, we go through the appeals, we do all that, and you guys continue to educate your kids. But if we come down to the point of where at some point in time it's going to be a closure, and I think our contract is really only for a year, or the renewal is for a year, is that correct? Or is it a 2-year renewal? I can't remember.
Mr. President, the recommendation and approval was for a 2-year contract.
2 years, okay.
And so, however, the board could direct me to negotiate a 1-year contract.
Well, if it comes back, there might be a situation like that, or it might be that we wait and see what the action really turns out to be. If in fact the Secretary of Education decides in favor of La Rosaluna and wants us to accept the contract, then we in fact could accept the contract, or we could not, I guess. We could go through revocation, or whatever we want to do. What's the board decision? But the point being is that if we go through all these appeals and everything else, and we eventually get to the point where it's supposed to close the school, I would say we would not close the school because you're going to have at least 2 or 3 months of school, maybe more, probably more if I know the process. And that's too late to close a school this year. But it might be closed at the end of the school year or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's something the board would make a decision on in terms of the ideas of closure and in terms of the recommendation for keeping the kids educated and in school and doing the things they're supposed to do. And it may well be that we do see improvement. I mean, you're going to be monitoring them in any case. Maybe we see enough improvement. Maybe we see the leadership really does pan out. I don't know what we're going to find, you know. So I think, again, to kind of pair a little bit of what Board Member Armijo said is we're just here to kind of give some thoughts and some discussion about this issue, some of our concerns still, some of our support. And I guess the path forward is really to allow the appeal process to go and see where it goes. And even if the secretary were to come back and say, I agree with your non-contract, that doesn't mean the board can't make another decision. We as a board have the opportunity to think about this again, to see where we are, particularly if the kids are already in school for whatever period of time it is, right? And even if they came back and said, yeah, we agree with your non-contract approval, we'd still have to go through apparently the revocation process. So that's another 45, month and a half, 2 months, I mean, we're just continuing this process. So I guess kind of as a final to this discussion, if that's what the board thinks, is that we're inside this process, so we'll continue with the process and see where it goes. If Secretary makes a decision, comes back and says, yeah, 12, 13, 17, the vote was 5-2. It was not unanimous. Actually, it must have been 4-2.
Right, I wasn't here, so I know I wasn't here to vote. I was out of state.
That's a good question, then.
Yeah, because I wasn't here.
Well, that was the policy meeting.
Oh, at the policy.
It might have been the policy meeting as opposed to the other.
Right.
On the consent calendar, it was 6-0, but the consent calendar, all that does is agree to what we voted on before. The 6-0 does not say we're voting for this. What the 6-0 says on the consent calendar says we voted for whatever the consent vote was. For example, if we voted 5-2 in the policy, that's what we're approving. We're not approving the fact that we're doing 6-0 on that particular item. We're approving the fact that we approved the consent item. Okay? So it was not unanimous in the sense that what we're voting on. So that's a good. Thank you, Brenda, for finding that. So we got to be careful what we say. We got to be accurate at what we say. And I think, again, just to close this, I would say I appreciate greatly that you are looking for a good person for leadership. I appreciate that you're looking to corrective action, and I suggest you go right ahead with that, because if your kids are going to be there, you definitely want to do what you can to educate your students. But again, I think we've started this appeal process, and so we're going to let that go where it goes, and we'll see where it comes back. And if it comes back to us and we have to make more decisions, we'll, as a board, talk about it again, and we'll see where you are.
I mean, Dr. Piercy, where are we, legally? I think it's important for us to know that.
Legally, we're in an appeal. Legally, we're in an appeal. And whatever the secretary says relative to that appeal is what we will have to follow. Mm-hmm. Now, if it comes back as they deny the fact that we have disapproved the contract, in other words, they think that we ought to approve the contract, then we have to, in fact, go back and say, are we going to appeal that? Are we going to agree to that? Or what are we going to do? We'll have to make a decision. If it comes back and says, I agree with you, board, you should, in fact, not accept the contract, then in fact, the next step, as I understand it, would be we would have to vote on revocation. I'm not sure why exactly this whole thing, but let's just go through it. We would have to vote on revocation. If we say we don't want to revoke it, then we'd still have to go through the idea, well, what contract do we want to have then? And we would still have to go through that process. Or if we said we want to revoke it, we'd vote on that. Then, in fact, they could appeal the revocation as well. In the meantime, our kids are going to school. And so...
Then the contract that we approved with the corrective action plan, you're saying we could do something different?
we could do
expect
something different if we wanted to. Sure, absolutely. So I think, again, we'll see how the appeal works. If we have a different information, maybe it comes back to us differently. Maybe it comes back to us with a lot better results. I don't know. You know, I think, again, that's part of what we have to see. I think, again, if La Resolana is really serious about addressing the special ed issues and so forth, they will make those progresses, and we'll see that as our authorizer does site visits and sees how they're doing. And if it looks really, really good and they're doing really good progress, maybe that's another indicator for us. I don't know.
So Dr. Piercy, do you know if we received anything from the PEC, like anything at all?
We haven't, as far as I know, we haven't received anything yet from the PED, right? I mean, I don't know that information. I just know that you said an appeal's been filed.
Mr. President, Ms. Mueller-Aragon, your question was regarding the Public Education Commission?
Correct.
So when the Public Education Commission was their authorizer, we had requested, we do this for any school that is seeking authorizing or renewal with us coming from the state. We ask them for any corrective action plans, any site visit documents, and we have not been provided that for 2 years. We have improved our process so that we have put the responsibility on the school, so that we are asking the school to provide us those corrective action plans. Okay. And if we were to obviously find out that there was a corrective action plan, but the school didn't disclose that, then we would bring that to you as a major concern, and I would
not be happy.
Probably recommend revocation at that point. But so.
But
I don't know if Mr.
Was that the question, Peggy? Because
with the PEC, because they were, the state was the authorizer for how many years? 10, I don't know. 10 years, 11 years, I don't know.
So, Mr. President, I don't have the total history, but this school was authorized originally by Albuquerque Public Schools.
And then it went
to the Public Education Commission. And then is coming back. So,
I'm just wondering why we have nothing from the PEC. They have to have something.
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that question, Peggy. I thought maybe your question was relative to the appeal. Do we have anything back from the Public Education Department relative to the appeal? And as far as I know, relative to that question, I guess we do not yet. Is that correct?
If I could, Mr. President, members of the board, just last week, we received a letter from the secretary who said that the basis for the appeal was not in sync with the statutes and the regulation. We did, and I want you to know, we, meaning the attorney for La Resolana and I, did say to the secretary that there would be a board meeting here and there would be a board meeting of La Resolana, and depending on the outcome of that, it was entirely possible that there would no longer be a need for the appeal. The secretary has said, I will do nothing in terms of briefing until I hear from the action of the two boards, and at that time I'll decide what I'm going to do. So you know, well, and so the two lawyers have said, if there's a path forward, I would rather not spend time and money.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We've already taken an action. The action is that we denied the contract. Yes. We have no action on our thing here.
We're not taking.
We're not taking action, so we cannot give you that authority to do anything different
I'm
and just
not, I'm
discuss
not
it.
asking for anything.
So the point is that
At some,
we don't have anything different right now.
the only thing that can happen, quite frankly, is the board itself can schedule a meeting and can take whatever action they want, including approving the contract, putting them on additional probation, or whatever you want to call it. So at this meeting, this was an information item, and that's why I wanted, in response, to let you know the secretary is holding in abeyance any action on this matter until this board and La Resolana board take action.
Yeah, see, now that's a very interesting piece of information that, I'm sorry, was not presented to us earlier. You know? I mean, that would have been a first thing I would have said, is that here's the status of the appeal. Therefore, we would have known what in the world's going on, you know? So thank you. I appreciate it finally getting to that point. So what you told me is that for some reason, the secretary says this doesn't agree with statute or something, whatever he thinks. And I don't even have an idea what he's talking about there. I mean, what do we mean by that? You know, what part of the statute isn't being done correctly? So I guess what you're saying is whatever the appeal is, the secretary doesn't think that satisfied whatever the statute requirement is for an appeal. Is that what you're telling me?
Mr. President, board members, yes. And on the very first page of the appeal, the notice of appeal by the lawyer for La Resolana, she says, I'm appealing on behalf of La Resolana based on section 22.8B9. In the footnote, she says, I found no regulation with regard to 22.8B9A. But if that's not correct, I'm appealing on the revocation. And I candidly have to say to you that these two statutes don't really contemplate this situation per se. It's not written very well. Needs to be clarified in a future legislative session. So at this point, I think Joseph's statement is an accurate one, which is we are in a bit of a gray area between two statutes. I'm pretty confident that what's going to happen is that the school will remain open until the secretary makes a decision if there's an appeal, and if there is a future agreement based on the board action, the appeal will be withdrawn, and I've had that assurance from the president of the Charter School Council and his lawyer.
Well, again, I don't think the board has any general position other than the fact we've already taken the action we've taken, and we're already under an appeal. And unless the board wants to have an item sometime in the future in a board meeting or whatever with an action to do something differently, that's where we are, you know? So are there other comments that?
I mean, how long can the secretary wait then? I thought that isn't there a time limit for the appeal? Like,
I think they said 30 to 45 days.
they said 30 to 45, so.
30 to 45 days, theoretically, and I guess that's.
The school year.
Pardon?
And that puts us into the start of the school year.
Yeah, 30 day, I think from the mid-June or whatever, 45 days would put us into the mid-August timeframe anyway, and that's starting school. So yeah, I don't know, Peggy. Again, I think again, the general idea is to go with the flow here and see where it goes. And maybe at some point in time, they'll make a better legislative rule about how this all ought to work. I don't know, you know. But again, I recommend for La Resolana to make sure that you're educating your kids and make sure that you're doing the right things, and we'll see where it goes. But if it goes too far into the school year, it's my opinion that we would not, and again, it's my opinion, I want to let you know that. The board can make whatever decision they want. But my opinion is that it would be just a little dangerous for our kids to try to pull them out of a school and put them someplace else and whatever, particularly if you've got a large number of special education kids. They don't do well to move out of any kind of environment they're in and jerk them around and do something like that. So it looks like to me that based on all the appeals and everything else we as adults do, that the school's probably going to have to stay open for a year before we can get everything all resolved, if that's what the board feels, even if they came back with closure. So that's opinion here. And again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, and then the board can make appropriate decisions. Yes, Board Member Garcia.
So may I make a suggestion here that we ask that the school and that charter school office report to us on a monthly basis the progress on the items that we identified that were challenging.
Yeah,
you know,
good idea.
That we get to follow this rather closely. Yep. Whether the secretary takes action or not, it's kind of relevant, but kind of not.
Yep.
I mean, what we want is in the best interest of these children and these parents and families.
Yep.
As a school community. But we want to make sure that we're, one, complying with federal law, two, that the corrections that we pointed out that must be made to be satisfied with this school are adhered to, and I think you were very clear, that people are not just forgetting to fill out the paperwork, which is, I think, the excuse we got from the school principal, but that we actually have staff who are actually following and making sure that the IEPs are being followed and all the details are being taken care of for these special ed students. If we are a chartering authority, it strikes me that that's our responsibility. And if that's not happening, I want to know about it before we get to the end of the year or mid-year. I want to be able to say, no, this isn't working. What's a corrective action plan for our corrective action plan? So it's clearly documented. Because otherwise, it just looks to me like we're made out to be fools as a board.
I think it's a good suggestion, Joseph. So keep monitoring it. We'll see where it goes and make sure that we get some feedback in terms of where everybody is. Okay? So I'm going to close this off.
Just
pardon?
one little tangential thing that's not directly having to do with this, but just I want to thank Dr. Escobedo and Ms. Elder. They represented APS very well in front of the LESC earlier. So they blew in, I mean, their hair was blowing in the wind because they ran in here after racing down from Santa Fe. So thank you for doing that and staying professional and collected all the time.
Appreciate it. And thank you, Robert, for coming and talking with us. Okay, appreciate that very much.
And Dr. Piercy, I just want to make sure, I know on number 11, it talked about that we didn't vote on any revocation because it had said something about us, about us violating the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. I mean, that's obviously a concern, but we didn't violate, right?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't vote on the revocation.
Okay.
We just thought that when you deny a contract, that automatically meant that you would close the school.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
That's just a thought. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go on to item special issue 6B on update on online registration. That's just a discussion item, and Dr. Bowman is going to give us some update on that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I am very proud to present Andy Gutierrez, our Senior Director of Student Information Systems, who is recently in the position and has kind of heroically taken on the task of activating online registration for the district, which is something that we've contemplated for years, and now we are doing it. So
I've seen the bulletin boards that have that notice saying register online.
Absolutely. We have
I haven't tried it yet, but
we have worked with the communications office to really put forth a communication plan. It's on our website. I believe we have billboards, radio, school messenger.
Digital billboards.
So we're working on trying to get the message out to everyone. And tonight you will see a quick demonstration, and then we will come back a little bit before the beginning of the school year in policy just to give you an update on how it's been going.
Great.
With that, over to you, Andy.
Thank you. Good evening, President Piercy, members of the board, and Superintendent Reedy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to give you a short demonstration on the Synergy Online Registration System, also known as OLR. The Synergy Online Registration System handles the registration events of both returning and new students. The goals for the implementation of online registration were: 1, to provide parents and guardians with an online method for registering their students; 2, get enrollments and registration data into Synergy faster; and 3, save time and money for the schools, eliminating manual data entry from paper registration cards into Synergy that you have in your registration packet in front of you. Online registration was activated on March 1st for the 2018-2019 school year and made available for all schools to use. Training and best practices were also made available so that the schools would know how to process the electronic registrations parents started submitting. The online registration has been generally accepted well by the schools and parents. The system has presented some new challenges for the schools and parents. While there have been some glitches, we are also addressing them as quickly as possible. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jude Garcia, the project lead for online registration. To begin the demonstration, Jude is the OLR system administrator and has done a phenomenal job of implementing this module. The entire Student Information Systems Department has rallied to support the rollout of this important new functionality, and I could not be prouder of them. We also need to acknowledge the contributions and support provided by the APS Communications Department in developing a community communication strategy and updates to the APS website, as well as the Technology Department for making computers available and providing support to the schools for OLR. Last but not least, we need to acknowledge Dr. Bowman's support in the successful implementation of the module. Mr. Garcia.
Andy, thank you. President Dr. Piercy, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to do a brief demonstration this evening for you for the online registration, also known as Parent View. I'm going to go ahead and access the login here. And I am logging in as an existing parent. What's really nice about the system at any time, if the parent did get interrupted or left the computer, had to go, check on the stove, pause for their commercials, whatever it may be, they can easily log back in and resume right where they left off. For the demo purposes this evening, I am going to go ahead and start over. It will confirm for the parent the school year that they are registering for, which is the 18-19 school year. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit once the introduction comes up. It does guide the parent on what to expect as they go through the process, indicating red asterisk fields, obviously it's required, and information requiring returning students, such as the annual verification of the residency, along with immunization cards, proof of address, custodial, any updated documents for the upcoming school year. Parents of new students, we do require a number of documents, but everything's laid out here, and parents can easily make sure that they have some of those documents as they move forward to continue the process. Let me zoom in up here. What's really nice about the system is it allows the family to build out the family, which is the physical address of the residence. After that, it allows them to build out the parents and guardians that live at that address, along with building out the emergency contacts before they even get to their students. Typically, it's the same information for all students part of that family, but they can still put in if it is different. And then they have the ability to upload documents and then review what they have changed and submitted right there, click of a button. This is the first time we're collecting electronic signatures of parents.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is it pre-populated if you already have a student in the system?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, here it's just confirming the family, what is the physical home address. If the parent has changed an address, they can easily type that in. It easily starts to populate that address, registers that address within the system, and allows the parent to proceed. Again, The parent, if it's different from the physical address receiving the mailing address, the parent can let us know that. This is confirming the demographics for the first parent and guardian of the parent that logged in, confirming their information and the address. Again, the mailing address. Also work information. Some of the information that we do collect regarding our federal census impact aid, such as active military, and if the parents work on federal employment, parents can easily fill that information in. We always had to collect it by paper. Very easily, parents can come in here and update any phone numbers, or they can easily delete phone numbers and add new phone numbers along with updating their email addresses.
Would that be at any time during the year?
Correct, yes. Once they update the annual information for online registration, after that they will log into their ParentView account and submit those changes. Someone in the main office is accepting those changes and committing them to the system.
Thank you.
This is where it lists all the parents and guardians that are part of that family. They can go in and edit that information, and if parents have different separate addresses, it's not even listed here. This is where they can easily come in and update any emergency contacts, remove emergency contacts, or add additional emergency contacts, again, for their students. And as we can see here, this parent did complete their registration for their 9th grader for Albuquerque High School. In this case, it is in progress for Vincent. The parents do have to come in here and click the edit button or the in progress. All students have to be completed to submit the registration. Parents can easily come in here and put check marks if information does not pertain, or in this case, Vincent, a 3rd grader, doesn't have a private email address.
No?
Not yet. This is a race ethnicity questions, our Hispanic Latino indicator, along with our race that the federal government requires. And we do stop and ask parents if they do relate to a tribal community, a tribal affiliation, regarding our forms for the 506 and CIBs. Click of a button, a parent can download that information, and if they would like additional information, it just directs them to the Indian Education Department for further information. It also explains these forms that come from the Department of Interior and the Department of Education at the federal level. Health information, parents can choose to enter in healthcare provider information, preferred hospital, along with dental information. This is kind of those blue cards you might be familiar with that are housed in the health office. We now collect that electronically. Parents can put in any health conditions. In this case, Vincent doesn't have any. Additional health information, such as if there's EpiPen prescriptions, hearing aid devices, glasses, wearing contacts, or even a question that our Medicaid office asks, does your family need help signing up for free health insurance? That gets notified to the Medicaid office to where they can easily go out and help that family get qualified. Parents can also provide us medications, whether it be taken at home or they're taken during the school day. Again, this was a form that was collected by paper. We're collecting a lot of information for the nurses back at the school site. Also here, it does let parents know their immunization status. If this student was non-compliant in any of the categories, it would be highlighted here. To where the parent would easily, that might be a red flag during the registration when we go in to get a schedule of classes or the homeroom teacher assignment.
Is that part coordinated with NMSS, with the immunization system? Or is this relying on the parent submitting it?
In this case, the parents would submit their, or we would make a copy of their immunization card, or if they uploaded it, the nursing services department or the nurses would be entering in those dates.
Okay.
Some release of information relying on the student to be photographed or interviewed. along with authorization to use the internet there at the school site. We do have our exclusions, providing information, directory information out to the military businesses and universities. Parents can easily opt out of that by putting these check boxes.
But I did, pardon me, but I did notice if you do not fill that portion of the application, it's automatically, it automatically says, yes, that information may be provided to the military. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Parents would have to opt out of providing
They'd have
that.
to indicate, there has to be some indication they.
That is correct.
It's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay.
We do ask some information regarding pre-K or preschool information for incoming kindergartners. This information was entered in for Vincent, 4 or 5 years ago. There is a question so that we can qualify families for a discount or free high-speed internet access at home, or parents can choose not to respond. This is where the parent can relate those parents and guardians back to Vincent Martinez, who are the relationships of the guardians that are listed. Same thing for emergency contacts. We want the parent to relate who are these adults and how they relate back to the student, if they also can be released to in case of an emergency. I now have both students in green here. The parent can save and continue. The parent can, and if they choose to upload documents, they can easily browse their computer and upload any of those documents, or they can easily hand deliver copies instead of uploading them. But we definitely provide a number of those documents that they can be uploaded electronically. This is where the parent can click the review to see the entire process of the registration, anything that they have changed. It would be easily highlighted for them, very similar to how the main office reviews the registration process. It will highlight any changes that the parent has entered into the system. Very easily to review that, to where if there's very minor changes for emergency contacts, we can safely accept that registration. If there's lots of changes, we might, spend a little more time reviewing that. Excuse me, let me just hit that done. At this point in time, if the parent is satisfied with what they have filled out, they would submit the registration. And in this case, those registrations would pop into Reginald Chavez's registration queue and Albuquerque High for the 2 students. But thank you for allowing me to do a brief demonstration of the online registration system, and we're very excited moving forward with it.
And you do have it in Spanish?
Click of a button down here, we have different languages.
Right? Yeah, I saw it in Spanish.
Correct, yes, yeah. Yeah, we do have, yes.
And may I ask, how do you gather electronic signatures for parents? How do you do that? If a parent doesn't know how to do that, how would you do that? No. I noticed you said that you.
It's just a type name.
Yeah, it does guide them right up at the top to please type your name as you see it. Which is,
okay. Just type the name
correct,
out. Okay,
yes.
It's acceptable. All right. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Other comments? Yes, Board Member Miller-Aragon.
I was just looking at so is this different from what's on there, or is it exactly the same?
It's exactly the same.
Okay, so then my questions are, so when you're looking at Hispanic and Latino, so the first one where it says Hispanic, Latino, do they just write yes or no? Is there a yes or no
it's
on
in the
there?
drop down of Hispanic and non-Hispanic.
So it'll say Hispanic, non-Hispanic. And then, again, it'll say, please indicate if you are of Hispanic origin. So it's kind of like asking kind of the same question again. So there, is that yes or no?
The drop down in the online registration system indicates just Hispanic and non-Hispanic for that indicator.
So again, can you just tell me why you're doing that 2 times then? out of curiosity.
Mr. President and Board Member Mueller-Aragon. So what you see here is a form that has been pretty much in the same format for almost, I want to say 20 years.
Since I was in kindergarten.
And so you are pointing out that there are some things on the form, and kind of as we try to translate it into the technological format, that aren't exactly the same, and then there's also some things, and one of these came up a little earlier, that might be deprecated. You know, there was the mention in policy and instruction about birth country. So it's been there for 20 years, so we kind of copy this to the best of our ability, but we absolutely are going to be reviewing this experience for the next year's registration to try to constantly improve it. This is such a huge lift to change this into that we couldn't, we limited our scope to kind of replicating just what is. In this one, as you're pointing out, we don't ask the Hispanic Latino question twice.
Okay.
But it is, as you see, it is there twice.
Right. And so then the birth country, I didn't know that mattered either. Just we're going to educate all children, so I didn't know why that was important, but maybe it is important and I just don't see the importance myself. Then the other one is when you are saying indicate change, so you ask for a primary race and a secondary race. And then you're saying indicate change by using numbers 1 to 5 below. Shouldn't it say as I mean, I just can see some people thinking they have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's basically what it's saying. And so to me, that's kind of confusing, because I would read it literally and go, whoa, I have to try to figure out how much of whatever all of these I am, and number 5 is the least that I am by my DNA, you know? So that's just confusing, so that's another concern. I don't know what people will do. Maybe they won't take it literally like I would take it. So that's just a question. And then I know that you had said that there are some challenges and some glitches, and you're trying to be proactive instead of reactive, but I think we kind of have to be a little reactive. So can you tell me what you've seen as some of the challenges and glitches and how you're trying to be proactive?
One of them is a parent having an email address. You know, in order to have a parent view account, a parent has to have an email address. Introducing an email address to a parent that, you know, may say, well, what is that? Or I don't have an email address. And introducing them to services such as Google, opening up computer labs. So definitely that was something that we wanted to make sure that, you know, hey, we wanted to support those parents to where we open up those computer labs, whether it be late in the evening at their local school. Come on in and we take the time to take care of that now rather than later while they're standing at registration. Hey, we need to put you, we were trying to take care of that back in March, April, and May to kind of assist with opening schools now in August. So that was just one of the things that was identified. And also another thing is families not having access to computers, possibly at home, to do this in the comfort of their own home, opening up, again, the computer labs. And we're still talking open up computer labs here centrally, possibly for next school year. Again, just trying to make it available for parents to be able to assist them for that one-on-one.
And so is there anything here that they have to fill out that won't allow them to continue? You know how there's things you have to, and it won't let you go next if you haven't filled something out? Is that the case?
For the required, there are red asterisks for some of those required fields, and it will politely let the parent know, hey, this is a required field.
Okay. And then the only other concern I'd have is when they're filling out the health form that the little blue form they always had to fill out that went to the nurse's office. So when this is on a computer, I mean, that's really protected because that should be very protected. So I just want to make sure that it is.
That is correct. We partner with Nursing Services Department since we've implemented Synergy 5 years ago. So yes, definitely that was a big concern of theirs as well. I mean, we have addressed it and is safely secured for the nurses to only have access to this information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments? Board Member Yolanda?
I just have one. So, I mean, I think it's awesome that it's, you know, you're trying to look at outreach points. But because you are collecting protected health information, does it mean that they can only access it at certain points? So like, would a library not be a good outreach point?
In that case, the parent is logging in a computer, sitting in the library, logged into with their username and passwords kind of thing. I guess we would want to make sure part of our best practices is, no one's hovering over the parent, kind of. Sure. I have been out to evening events. I was out at 7 Bar Elementary School back in April. And sure enough, I didn't witness any of that, but parents seemed to be in and out, within 15 to 20 minutes submitting. I mean, again, it was offered, the open labs were offered to those parents that chose not to do it in the comfort of their home or, internet access or access to computers.
So like a community library then would be a good outreach point?
Yes.
It could be potentially a place where a parent could also go to work on this. Okay. That's all I have.
Board Member Patterson.
Yeah, thank you. How secure do you feel this system is? Knowing it's online, how secure do you feel this information is? And I know it is covered by FERPA, correct?
Yes.
All of the information on here.
That is correct. Yes. No. I'm very confident in the security of this system and just the whole APS network system of protecting student information in general.
Okay, and I noticed.
I just wanted to add also that the software itself is protected by industry standard security, and so all of the data that gets that goes between the parents' session and our servers to be stored is encrypted using industry standard encryption, and so it does provide a level of security for that data.
Thank you. I just didn't want to use the word hacking. I don't like that word, but okay. And I noticed the boxes on here are not numbered. I mean, maybe it's not on my system, maybe it's up there, but what I see in front of me, it's not. So if you needed to do a student profile, no names or anything, can you use this information to do a student profile, parent profile in the district? Can you actually use this data? Would you be using this information in that way?
So, Mr. President and Board Member Patterson, what type of, can you provide a little more clarity on the type of profile?
You're looking at what kind of the students at your ethnicity. You're asking for ethnicity. So the ethnicity, the profile of the ethnicity in the district. Maybe I shouldn't bring this up.
So are you talking about, Candy, the idea of having a general?
Yeah, a general
report. Hey, you can do general reports as long as you're not identifying individuals. I think that's the point she's making. What, can I give a profile, demographics, for example, of the district, demographics of a school? As long as you don't have only one student that's like that, and they can identify the student.
Because the boxes are not numbered, so I was wondering if this information would, if you could use this in a generic way, generically.
Mr. President, Board Member Patterson, so the information that they enter into the system does actually get used both for our purposes internally, and it also gets, large amounts of it do get reported to the state for their reporting. So as you mentioned for ethnicity, when the state says, here's the park numbers for,
this particular ethnicity, group? Yes.
This is where the information comes from.
All right, thank you. That's it right there. Thank you.
Other comments from other board members? Board Member Peterson.
For parents, for families that really and truly don't have access to computers and are uncomfortable on computers, is there any other alternative?
Yes, we definitely still have, as one of the best practices is our clipboards with just how we've always done it for the last 20 years is the registration paper form.
Right.
Most parents will joyfully go to the computer as opposed to filling out 3 different identical pieces of information for each of their 5 children. But so most people will welcome this, but there will be some families that are not comfortable with it. And just thank you for keeping on your radar the question about country of origin.
Just I thought you were going to go with a question I had an answer, but I was at a Trisco Heritage Academy in May, and definitely it was on a Saturday morning during their food basket distributions. They had about 150 families there. Well, sure enough, the parent liaisons were pulling the parents out of line, holding their place in line, pulling them into a computer lab and actually getting the online registration system completed there at the end of May, taking care again, targeting those families that they know definitely may have a struggle completing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have a quick question.
Okay, sure.
I love using Parent View. Do we still have to show up on the day of registration then?
Yes, you do. Yes. That is the ticket to get your schedule of classes.
Okay.
Or your teacher's homeroom assignment.
Now, I do enjoy going on that day, but it is long lines and it is a lot of forms to fill out. So I appreciate that we have the ability to do this online too. So thank you.
It will definitely just keep getting better.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. So I'm a parent. I show up at school to register my student. What exactly is the action that you take?
At President Piercy, at that point, basically, just kind of like what the schools have always done is kind of that triage on that first station, reviewing immunizations, any books, fees, fines, stuff like that. It would be a stop to have they completed their online registration. If not, they would be guided into an open computer lab and complete that. If they have completed the online registration piece, they would move on to the next station.
Or if they don't want to complete it online, they would do it paperless?
They would do it paper,
okay.
Correct.
Okay, just like we said. That's great. And I did have the questions about access controls. Because there's a lot of interesting data that different groups of people might have access to. So it's kind of more of a multi-access control, not just a blanket, can you get in or can you not get in? Because nurses maybe don't have to have information about other things. They may have to have information about health. Different departments may have different information about different things that they need to have. So do you have kind of a multi-layer of access controls, or how does that really work? I mean, the parent can obviously get all the information directly, so they must have full access control for their information, and protected, of course, against other students. But do different departments have different access levels? What exactly?
Mr. President, absolutely. So the Synergy system has a highly sophisticated security model with roles for different groups. And so the nurses can see one set of information and other folks can't necessarily see what the nurses are seeing. The school registrar can see things that the school secretary can't see. For example, teachers can see things different to where the principal can see. So it is.
So every field basically is controlled by the role that the access person is actually identified as. Okay.
Correct.
Right.
And it takes a good amount of time, but we keep up those roles.
Yeah, and that is a little bit of time because you have people have changes. I mean, you got 6,000 teachers, you have 12,000 employees. They change roles daily. I find that's probably pretty hard to keep up with, but yeah, okay, that's good. I appreciate that information. I think this is great. Very interesting. I think it's going to actually be you know, as we get through this, obviously the first year will be a test for you. It's always is, and there will be some glitches, but yeah, it's a good idea, and I really think that's great. And just to let you guys know too, as part of this whole information stuff that Rich has been working on, and I sent this link to you guys too, I think, about the SAPR, and if you wanted to go in and see, for example, school, park things and so forth. But there's lots of good information on that SAPR site. Lots of good information. So, you know, I just haven't been doing it, haven't been looking around too much. But a lot of good demographic information, a lot of good charts, a lot of good stuff. So you might want to go there and kind of cruise around a little bit and see what you see. In my email to you all, I gave you a little more direction on how to get to the parks because I had to kind of look a little problem solving, you know. We adults should be able to do that. But yeah, it's a really good display of the trend of the testing and so forth. And I gave Richard a couple of thoughts about, you know, different ways maybe to display the information to, you know, for example, when it says 0% in a particular category, that doesn't necessarily mean that there are no kids in that category. It just means from a point of view of rounding and so forth, it comes up 0%. So if you got 500 kids and you've got 8 or 5 or something that are in that category, it'll come up at 0% probably. So it might be nice to know out of how many kids do we have in these, because, you know, that would be kind of useful to some extent, although you've got to be careful with that too, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of good information in there, and this is, again, just I think part of what you guys are doing, and I really appreciate greatly what you're doing. So be careful, because when you see a lot of things, you get ideas. So this board is full of a lot of ideas. So anyway, we'll probably have suggestions for you. So thank you anyway. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
So we'll go on, and we've have been asked to bring out as a separate vote on our confirmation, our consent calendar, 2 items. One is 7A.2 and one is 7B.6. So I'm going to consider 7A.2 first, and that's the approval by the Board of Education for the board to authorize the superintendent to execute the donation agreement between Albuquerque Public Schools and Bernalillo County to acquire real property at 1015 Isleta Boulevard. That is Richard Beatty's area for what he's doing in RFK. So I will entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Dr. Piercy, I had a couple of questions that I was
Okay.
confused on. So one was the water rights, that was just still had me, I just still didn't get that. And there's probably nobody here who can try to help me with that one. The other thing, I wanted to know the difference between the closing date and the date of contribution, because the appraisal, according to the IRS in Section 170, must not be made earlier than 60 days before the date of contribution. So whenever you have a donation of over a certain amount, it has to follow those rules. So if you look at the closing in number 7, it says the closing shall be completed no later than 60 days after approval from the State Board of Finance. So are we making sure that those dates are working?
I'll make sure that we do that, absolutely.
I am absolutely sure that we are cognizant of those dates.
Okay.
Scott's not here right now, but he certainly will make sure that he follows through on that.
Yeah, because one says before, 60 days before, and then something else says no later than 60 days. So then later and before don't jive. So, and then just concern for water rights. I hope that doesn't come up as a problem, but my vote is no.
Okay, so we have a 6-1 vote, is that correct? I just want to make sure I called for a vote, did I? Okay, thank you. So the other one is 7B.6, and 7B.6 is the approval for purchase of the benchmark materials from Benchmark Education Company.
And the only reason, President Piercy, that was just confusing to me is that we had already voted to approve this at a different price. So then they got a better deal. So we, of course, want to have the better deal. So I just want to make sure that that's clear in there, since we already did have this up for a vote and that did pass. So that was my concern about that one, so.
You just want to
Because we didn't really need to, as Ms. Coleman had said, we didn't really need to vote on that again because we already had, so.
Right. We really didn't. I think they just brought it to us to clarify to us that they were actually getting a better deal. So
I just kind of go, which one's going to hold? The one we voted on before when it comes to the price, or this one? It is confusing to me. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not the most brilliant person, but we have two votes saying we voted for this amount, and now we're saying we're voting for this amount. So which one really holds? I don't know.
This one holds.
Okay.
So
Fact is, anytime you vote on something and you get a better price, they're going to go with a better price. In fact, we probably don't need to re-vote on that in any case. I think, in fact, what they could have done probably is come as a discussion item and said, I just want to let you know that we got a better price on this. Because all we did is approved an amount of money that goes towards a purchase.
Right.
And in reality, if they can get it as a better price, then obviously that's okay with us, you know? Although maybe somebody doesn't want to do that. Maybe they want to have a higher price. I don't know.
So I guess the question is, does it leave us open to Benchmark coming back to us and saying, okay, you've promised to buy 2 of these?
No, it doesn't. First of all, they have not actually submitted the purchase. And so until they do that, the purchase is whatever it is that we have finally approved. So if we've approved a lower amount, then in reality, they can't go to a higher amount because that's what we've approved here. It's a later approval, so.
I don't remember like how these look, but I guess when we're making approvals, then is it something that should be stated not to exceed a certain amount? And so that it could go up to that amount, but it could be less than that amount.
I think that's generally
Understood, but I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know if our paperwork's, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Keep in mind almost everything we approve
Yeah.
from these kind of things is an estimate. Even when we do design construction things, we do all kinds of things, those are estimates. And the thing in those kinds of areas is it says if it's more than $250,000 difference, they'll come back to us, right?
Yes, Mr. President, that actually is a statement. It should be on every action.
Right.
Purchases.
Right.
That if the purchase cost of whatever it is you're approving exceeds
$250,000
or over $250,000 or something.
It comes back to us.
Okay.
Right. Anyway, so I think the answer is we're okay. But maybe that's something you want to think about in the future, that if we actually have a better deal, just come back and tell us we got a better deal, and then we won't have that question,
In hindsight.
you know. Because in reality, what we really are doing is authorizing you up to that amount of money. And if it's going to be more than that, you have to come back to us. If it's less than that, well, we're happy about that, you know. So, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and do we have a second? Do we have a second on this?
Second?
Okay, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, and then we'll go on to the consent items, and that's all of the items with the exception of A.2, B.6, and also B.2, which in fact is going to come back to us, okay?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll go on to board member comments. I'll start down here with board member Armijo.
I'll make them brief since we still have additional things to do, but congratulations to our finance department for their recognition and awards. It speaks volumes to the level of professionalism that we get to work with every day. So thank you again for all you do. And congratulations to Dr. Bowman for another beautiful female in his life. We're not the only ones, so congratulations. So, we we no longer have our public comment people in the room, but could somebody provide me a name to give to Miss Yolanda and Nora for them to follow up with?
Oh, they've already spoken to Officer Gandara.
Okay, they did?
So I have all the information.
Great. So they know what to do now? Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. She sent it to me in a text message, and I, so I'm glad you took care of it. So great job. Thank you so much. And thank you.
Okay, Board Member Patterson.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Reedy, for all your report, and thank you to all the heroes that you have right there among you. Thank you so much for all the wonderful work you do every day. It's good to hear that we have a lot of great work coming from the district. And I see that everything else has been taken care of from the other side with Yolanda. So, you know, one of the things that we do in our community on the west side, we do a lot of planning on our community. And one thing that we're doing this Thursday is making sure that our community is safe and that we address issues regarding education. And so we every year when we have our mayor and we do a Chilean chat, and nothing's off the table. We have nothing's off the table. We get to talk to him about whatever. And so we're meeting with Mayor Keller tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And so if you have any burning question you'd like to email me, a good one, between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow, I'd be happy to share that with him and stuff. And those are the things that we do. We do a lot of planning in our community, and anything from crime to keeping our neighborhoods safe, keeping our community going and stuff. And one of the issues that I will bring up, of course, will be the overcrowding of our schools. And so I look forward to meeting and talking to the mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Board Member Montoya Cordova.
Just congratulations on the uptick in our scores. I think that's great. It's good news. It's always good to have good news about progress that's being made. I do want to just add that also, and congratulations to the graduates that is coming up. I wish I could attend that. That sounds pretty awesome. And for the number of students that are enrolled in summer school. I mean, I always worry about, I don't worry about it, but I'm grateful that we have that opportunity for students that need to do that, that there is something that makes it available for them to continue their education for those that want to work through the summer. So that's great. I did have an opportunity today to attend the event over at Harrison Middle School with Senator Padilla with his the job fair. I got to meet with the principal and the assistant principal there. Great job. They did a wonderful job, and they were so just invested right in there with the community. So that was really awesome. I was impressed with the number of people that were there. It was jam-packed. The gym brought back a lot of memories. I was remembering when I worked as a recreation leader when I was with the county when I was 17 or 18 years old. It was my first job. It was at Harrison Middle School, and it was in that gym. So it was it still looked the same. So congratulations to all this, to the staff that made that possible, because it was a great event.
Super. Board Member Garcia.
I don't have any comments.
Oh, amazing. You're going to beat me. Board Member Peterson.
Thank you for taking care of the situation with the parent. And it is something, we do have a large number of parents that have some kind of criminal record. Lots of times it's very minor stuff. And I know we've raised it before about making sure that that doesn't become a barrier to them being able to participate in school and volunteer in whatever way they're able to, and at the same time knowing we need to make sure that we keep our kids safe and all of that. So it seems like perhaps the need is for some kind of appeal process to be spelled out, so that if parents aren't cleared with a background check at one level, they do have a straightforward and transparent ability to appeal it. But thank you for taking care of the specific thing.
If I may add that, Chief Steve he is very thoughtful and does a very thorough job, and it's always upmost in his mind what exactly, we just need to keep our kids safe, and the appeal, when we have an appeal process and it comes to me, and there are times when we're able to, he and I get together and we are able to move forward with it. Sometimes we're not able to, and it breaks my heart. And I don't know the situation here, but we will certainly look at it and look at it very, very carefully.
Okay, thank you. I keep saying I can't tell you how much I appreciate how hard people work, and there are lots of different things. But one specific thing, Mr. Dufay, I have to tell you, I got a complaint about 2 dying trees on one of the campuses of one of my schools. I mentioned it to John after a meeting, and I'm reluctant to tell him anything because he jumps on it. So sure enough, he has moved ahead, and those trees are going to be replaced, and he's just one of many people who do amazing work. So I appreciate that. I also feel compelled to tell people, I taught for 35 years, and I can say in all complete, total honesty that my language was always professional. And up until last Wednesday, my language in my board role has always been appropriate. And on Wednesday, it was not. And I just want to apologize again to anyone who was offended by that. I ran for this position because I care about what happens, and sometimes it makes me maybe inappropriately passionate or heavy-handed. But I hope that it's never taken without the respect, or I hope that people never feel that it's given without the respect and the appreciation that I really and truly have for people who work here. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Muller-Aragon.
When I think it was Brian that was speaking about school security and that somebody hadn't got back to him, if we can make sure that somebody does that, I would appreciate it. Or put out there, we know our policies are mandatory or we wouldn't have them in policy. So to just kind of put that out there when it comes to security so people do know what the policies are and what's working and what our staff is doing, because I know they're evaluating all the schools and things are going in that are going to protect our children. So we just need to make sure that everybody knows that. So if someone could make sure and get back to him, I'd appreciate it.
Is he still here?
I think he left too, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to just let everyone know that I appreciate Barbara a whole lot, because it was very magnanimous of her to apologize to everyone, because she did not only do this in public to everyone here, but she did apologize privately, and that takes a really special person to be able to do that. And I just wanted to let everybody know that that's what I think of her, and I appreciate what she did. So thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. I know that several of us on the board met with some of the folks, the Carpenter folks, the Workforce Solution folks. We talked a little bit about CTE, and looking forward to getting a framework back and looking at that. I know we had said we would try to get a meeting in a couple of months, and that would be in August. So we need to be pushing forward to see if we can get a date for doing that and who it would attend that. Because I think, again, we're a little farther ahead on some of the CTE stuff than maybe a lot of folks. And, I know they're coming up with stuff at the national level, and I don't even know if they're talking to schools or anybody else about it. But I think, again, I appreciate that greatly, and so I'm looking forward to that. I love the additional budget we got for our CSI, TSI, and MRI schools, and the SEG bump, and I'm looking forward to the administrative priorities as be reported to us, as the board has asked. Several of us went to the NMSBA leadership retreat in Taos, and we're going to have a report back on that, I think, on the August 1st. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. A lot of upcoming events. Age of Agility tomorrow. You know, a lot of my work actually was on Agile systems. Call them capability and maturity models. And typically, the highest level of those kind of models organizationally, it deals with the idea that you're an Agile organization. And I'm pretty sure that probably they're going to talk about mental, organizational, agility kinds of things. I'd like them to talk about physical agility, how that can help me, but probably won't do that.
My border collies will do that.
Yeah, they probably won't do that. Superintendent's Cup tomorrow. Are you playing?
I'm not playing, but I'm
Observing, yeah.
Yes, well, yes, we're greeting and observing. And
I told him, yeah, I liked it when Jennifer came back. She says, "Want to know what flight you're in?" I said, "Wait a minute." I put it on my calendar, and the calendar just says that I'm kind of interested in dropping by and maybe seeing how things are going. I'm beyond my playing days.
We're going to be decorated.
Yeah.
Ourselves. We're decorating ourselves.
Oh, okay, good. ACE is next week. It looks like a really great agenda. Appreciate you sending that out. And I know our Friday morning is kind of our breakfast board thing. And for Yolanda in particular, you maybe don't know that we typically have kind of a board welcome at that time at the breakfast.
Next Friday?
Yes.
I will be out of town. I'll be in San Diego on the beach with my granddaughters.
We'll have you scape in then.
I'm not
You can
Skyping
scape.
anything.
We'll put
No.
this. We'll put the scape on the big
No,
big
I am
screen,
going
and
to
you can
be
show us.
on the beach with my granddaughters.
I know. That'll be inappropriate.
With no apology.
With no apology whatsoever.
Okay. Well, we'll acknowledge that then. And I love the fact that our MRI schools are going to start up on the 23rd with our teachers, 30th with our students. And I know you guys are trying to get the message out really strongly. Make sure everybody shows up. That's great. Start of the regular schools. I also think that it would be good for us as a board to have maybe a board retreat sometime, maybe in August, just to kind of get together again, talk a little bit about our norms, talk a bit, whatever topics you guys would like to pursue in that, maybe a couple hours, 3 hours max. So we can talk through some of the things, make sure we're doing okay, make sure that how we want to work, and if there are priorities in terms of things we want from the administration to look at, we'll talk about that and see if we can kind of get a list of that. I know we had talked before in one of our retreats about some goals and that. How are we doing relative to what we talked about before? I just think it's good once in a while, at least for us to get together and talk about that and have it be whatever we want to say. And if we got things on our chest, let's get it off, talk about it, okay? So that's what I have, and I appreciate greatly what the staff is doing. I think it's incredible. So thank you very much, people. So the next board meetings, next Board of Education meeting will be Wednesday, August 1st, 2018, 5 o'clock here. And the next special Board of Education meeting will be Monday, July 23rd, 7:30 in DeLeo Martin. And we now have a consideration to go into exec session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978-1015A H2, limited personnel matters for the purpose of discussion of the superintendent's evaluation. Do I have a motion that the APS Board of Education convene to executive session pursuant to all those things I said?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, and take a roll call, please.
Peggy Mueller-Aragon,
No.
Lorenzo Garcia,
Yes.
Yolanda Montoya Cordova,
Yes.
Barbara Peterson,
Yes.
Candelaria Patterson,
Yes.
Elizabeth Armijo.
Yes.
And
David Piercy.
yes, so we will move into the DeLeo Martin, and Okay.
Yeah. And burn a couple of flags around the building. Yep.